The hallway of Silence's hallway was cold. Not just cold like winter or wind, but a kind of cold that lived deep in your chest. The lights above flickered softly, the kind of lights that made everything feel forgotten. And there, against the pale white wall, sat Ana de Armas, knees drawn to her chest, arms wrapped tight. She was shivering. Not from the cold outside, but from the storm inside. No one saw her slip out of the makeup room. No one noticed the way she held her breath during the script read, and no one cared when she walked barefoot down the hallway just to be alone. She sat there like a small shadow, trying not to cry too loud, trying not to be seen. But sometimes, the ones meant to find us always do. The softest sound came next, a footstep, not rushed, not loud. It didn't belong to a stage assistant or director. It belonged to someone who didn't need to announce himself. Keanu Reeves walked slowly down the hall, holding a cup of coffee in one hand, a folded jacket in the other. He wasn't looking for her. He didn't even know she was there. But the moment he saw her, his walk slowed. He didn't say anything, didn't ask what happened, didn't offer fake comfort. He simply sat down beside her, quietly like the hallway was made for two people that day. Ana didn't look at him. She couldn't. Tears still clung to her lashes. Her jaw trembled, but she tried to breathe steady. And Keanu just sat there, sipping his coffee, eyes on the blank wall ahead. Minutes passed. Not a word, not a sound. And slowly, her shoulders dropped. She wasn't alone anymore. The silence was still there. But it didn't hurt as much. After a while, Keanu placed the jacket on her shoulders. Still no words. He didn't force her to speak. He didn't ask questions. He just waited. And sometimes waiting beside someone in their quiet pain is the loudest kind of kindness. Earlier that morning, Ana had arrived on set early. It was a big shoot day. Cameras, extras, makeup teams all moving fast. Her face was calm, but inside she was breaking. Her mother had called the night before, said her father was in the hospital again. It was serious this time, something about the lungs. Ana had wanted to fly back, but the producers begged her to stay. They promised to cover her ticket the next day, said she had scenes that couldn't be delayed, so she stayed. But she didn't sleep, didn't eat. And when the director yelled at her for missing a cue, her hands had begun to shake. It wasn't the yelling. It wasn't the lights or the lines. It was the weight. It's the unbearable weight of holding it all in. She had smiled through interviews, smiled through wardrobe changes, smiled as if the world wasn't crumbling in her heart. But when she stepped into the hallway, the smile fell. Keanu didn't know the full story. He didn't need to. Something in him just understood. He had seen too many people break quietly. Too many friends who wore brave faces while falling apart inside. And so he sat. His silence wasn't empty. It was strong, like a tree standing in the storm. And somehow, Ana leaned closer, not touching him, not asking for help, but feeling safer beside him. After a while, she whispered, "How do you do it?" He turned his head slightly, didn't rush to answer. "Do what?" he asked softly. "How do you stay so calm when everything hurts?" Keanu looked down at his hands. His fingers curled around the warm cup. He took a breath. "I don't fight. The pain," he said. "I sit with it until it lets go." Ana stared ahead. Those words didn't solve anything, but they made something inside her soften. Later someone called for her. "Ana, wardrobe needs you in 10. She didn't move. Keanu stood up gently and reached a hand out, not to pull her up, but to steady her. She took it. Her legs were weak, but his hand was strong. She didn't say thank you. He didn't expect it. They walked down the hallway together, slowly, side by side. And though the air was still cold, Ana wasn't shivering anymore. On set, the crew noticed something different. Ana's eyes were tired, but focused. Her movements slower, but full of grace. And when the camera rolled, she gave the scene something no one expected. Honesty. After the shoot, she walked up to Keanu. The sun had set. The parking lot was quiet. He was leaning against his motorcycle, helmet in hand. "I was really scared." "Today," she said. He nodded. "I know. Thought I couldn't make it through." He looked at her, his eyes soft. "But you did." And for the first time that day, Anna smiled. Not the fake kind. Not the public kind. But a real one. Thank you, she said. Keanu didn't answer. He just put on his helmet and gave her a small nod before riding off into the dark. But that moment, a quiet moment in the hallway, stayed with her. Not because of what was said, but because someone chose to sit with her in her silence. And in that stillness, she found a new kind of strength. The whisper behind the curtains next morning came too fast. Anna stood in front of the mirror in her trailer. Her hair was curled just right. Her lips painted a soft shade of calm, kind of look that said everything is fine even when nothing was. But her eyes told the truth. They looked older today, not with age, but with weight. She touched the jacket Keanu had placed around her shoulders the night before. She had folded it neatly, thinking she would return it, but then changed her mind. Something in her didn't want to let go of it just yet. It felt like holding on to a quiet moment that mattered, a reminder that she didn't break, not completely outside. The crew buzzed with energy. Cameras being tested, lights adjusted, scenes blocked. The assistant director walked past her door and called her name. Anna. 10 minutes to run through. She took a deep breath and stepped out. Keanu was already on set. He stood in costume, reading over the scene notes. He didn't look up when she entered. But something changed in his posture, like he sensed her presence. She walked slowly toward her mark, her heels soft against the wooden floor. The director gave instructions. Camera 1 would push in close. Camera 2 would stay. Wide, emotional range medium at first, but build toward raw. They were filming a breakup scene. Let's make this real, the director said. Anna nodded. Keanu gave a quiet nod too. When the scene started, something unexpected happened. The emotions that were supposed to be acted didn't need to be faked. Her pain from the day before slipped into her eyes like a reflection. Her voice trembled when she said the words, "I don't think you really see me anymore." And when Keanu replied, he didn't act either. "I see you more than you know," he said. "Even when you try to disappear." The director didn't. Cut. He let it keep rolling, because something was happening that wasn't in the script. Something real. And when it ended, no one moved. Even the crew stood still, caught in the moment. Then came the soft voice of the director. That was beautiful. They broke for lunch. Anna sat alone again. Not because she wanted to be alone, but because she wasn't sure how to be around people yet. She pushed her food around on the plate, lost in thought. Then she heard a voice. Soft. Calm. "You were incredible." Keanu stood beside her, holding his own tray of simple food just, rice and steamed vegetables. No sauce, no dressing. Looked up at him and gave a small smile. "You made it feel safe," she said. He sat down across from her. Not to talk, not to ask, just to be there. Again, after a few bites of food, Anna looked at him and whispered something barely audible. "My dad is dying." Keanu didn't flinch. He didn't say, "I'm sorry," like most people did. Instead, he listened. "He's back in Cuba. I was supposed to be with him this week, but I stayed." Her voice cracked at the end. Keanu looked at her for a long moment. Then he said quietly, "Do you want to go?" Anna shook her head. They already started shooting. "I can't just—" "Yes, you can," he said. "I'll cover for you." She stared at him, confused. "How?" she asked. "I'll say you had an emergency," he said. "If they need to reschedule, they'll reschedule. They'll adjust." "They won't," she said, defeated. "You don't understand. They said they'd fire me if I walked off set again." Keanu leaned in slightly. "If they fire you for choosing your family, then they never deserved you here in the first place." Anna felt tears well up again. But this time, they didn't sting. They felt like water washing away guilt. Later that day, after wrap, she stood outside the studio. Her phone buzzed. It was her mother. The news wasn't good. Her father had taken a turn. The doctors weren't sure how long he had left. Anna didn't hesitate. She booked the first flight to Havana. The next morning, the set was quiet. The director looked around for Anna. Someone said she had gone home. Someone else said nothing. Keanu stood beside the producer. She went to see her father, he said calmly. The producer raised an eyebrow. Without notice? Keanu didn't blink. I told her to go. You what? Keanu sipped his coffee and looked the producer in the eye. You can be mad at me. You can respect the fact that family comes first, always. The producer didn't argue, not with Keanu. There was something in his tone like stone that had been through fire, unshakable. In Havana, Anna held her father's hand. His eyes fluttered open and saw her. For the first time in days, he smiled. "Mi Estrella," he whispered. My star. Anna cried softly into his chest. He was weak, so much thinner than she remembered, but he was still her hero. And she had made it in time. Back in Los Angeles, the crew reshuffled the schedule. The director shot around her scenes. No one said a bad word. Not after Keanu quietly told them that Anna was doing something braver than acting. She was loving her family when they needed her most. Days later, Anna sent a photo to Keanu. Her father was smiling beside her. They were watching one of his favorite old films. The message read, "Thank you for giving me this moment. I'll never forget it." Keanu replied with just 4 words. Some moments matter most. The hallway where she once sat alone now felt different in her mind. Not cold anymore. Not forgotten. It became the place where silence turned into strength, where a quiet man sat beside her and, without saying much, gave her everything she needed. And in her heart, Anna promised something when someone else would sit in a hallway someday. Cold, afraid, silent. She would be the one to sit beside them, just like Keanu did. The girl with the red notebook, Anna, returned to set. 2 weeks later, the sun was just rising over the hills when she stepped out of the black car. She wore no makeup, no heels, just jeans, a soft sweater, and a tired heart that had grown stronger. The crew noticed, it's not just because she was back, but because something in her eyes had changed. It was softer, but deeper. Like someone who had looked at the edge of life and walked back with new truth. As she walked through the lot, a few people waved. Some smiled. One makeup artist ran up and hugged her tight. "We missed you," she said. Anna smiled back. Missed, being missed. The director gave her a long look when she stepped on set. He walked over, quiet at first. "I'm sorry for the pressure," he finally said. "I didn't know what you were going through." Anna nodded. "Thank you for letting me go?" He glanced away for a second and whispered, "I didn't. Keanu did." The shoot started slowly. Anna slipped back into her role, like slipping into cold water carefully. A little breathless, but steady. The first scene of the day was lighthearted, no heavy emotions. She handled it well. But during a break, something strange happened. As she was walking back to her trailer, a young woman ran up to her. She looked like part of the background crew, maybe an intern, maybe someone from wardrobe. The girl held a small red notebook in her hand. "Anna," the girl said shyly. Anna turned. "Can I just say something?" Anna smiled and nodded. The girl swallowed hard. She was barely 20, maybe younger. Her hands were shaking slightly. "I saw you that day, in the hallway." Anna blinked. The girl continued, "I was carrying some props. I wasn't supposed to be back there, but I saw you sitting alone. And then I saw Keanu come sit beside you." Anna felt her chest tighten, but she said nothing. "I didn't mean to watch, but I did. Just for a second. And something about it stayed with me." The girl opened the red notebook and flipped through a few pages, then stopped and tore one out. "I wrote this after that moment. It's a poem. It's not very good, but..." Anna took the page gently. She read the first few lines. It wasn't perfect, but it was beautiful. Raw, honest. The girl had written about silence, about kindness, about how one moment of stillness can stop a storm in someone else's heart. Anna looked up. The girl's eyes were full of hope and fear. "This is beautiful," Anna said softly. The girl blushed. "I wanted to quit this job. I thought no one saw me. But that moment made me feel like maybe being kind matters." Anna reached out and hugged her. "It does," she whispered. "More than you know." Anna folded the poem and tucked it in her pocket. Then she looked around the set. The cameras, the lights, the noise, it all still mattered. But it wasn't. The only thing that mattered now, kindness mattered more. That afternoon, she found Keanu near the craft table, eating a banana and reading from a small paperback novel. "Hey," she said. He looked up and smiled. "Got something for you?" She said. She pulled out the folded page and handed it to him. He read it slowly. The poem about silence, about sitting with someone. Anna shook her head. "Someone who saw us did." Keanu folded the paper again and placed it in his pocket. "Then we did our job," he said. Anna tilted her head. "What job?" "Making this place a little less cold." Later that night, Anna couldn't sleep. She lay on her bed in the dark, listening to the soft hum of the city outside her window. And she thought about that red notebook, the girl's words, her trembling hands. She remembered something her father once told her. You won't always know when someone is watching, but live in a way that if they are, they learn something. Good. And suddenly, Anna sat up. She opened her phone and wrote a post for her followers. She didn't name names. She just wrote, "Someone once sat beside me in silence, and in that silence, I healed. If you see someone alone today, sit beside them. Don't fix them. Don't talk. Just be there. It might change everything." She hit post. Within minutes, the comments came pouring in. People shared their own stories of quiet kindness, of strangers who helped without words, of moments when sitting beside someone was the most powerful thing they had ever done. The next day, the story made headlines. Anna, armas shares powerful message on silent kindness. A fan commented, "Sometimes healing doesn't need loud voices. It just needs one warm presence." Back on set, the atmosphere shifted. People spoke softer, paused more, hugged longer, and Anna started noticing things she had missed before. A stuntman, limping silently but pushing through, a hair stylist wiping her eyes between touch-ups, a lighting technician staring into nothing with too much sadness in his eyes. Anna didn't rush in, didn't flood them with concern. She just began to sit quietly beside them, offer water, a gentle word, or simply nothing at all. And bit by bit, as cold started to leave the hallways. One evening, as the cast wrapped up a long day, Anna found Keanu leaning against a trailer wall sipping tea. "I think we started something," she said. He raised an eyebrow. "People are noticing more, helping more." Keanu smiled. "We didn't start anything. Kindness was already there. We just reminded them." She nodded. "I think I want to keep reminding them." Keanu finished his tea and set the cup down. "Then remind them gently," he said. "The world already has enough noise." Anna sat down beside him. No more words, just two people, sitting again in silence, the same way it all began. But this time, the silence wasn't filled with pain. It was filled with purpose. The still room a week passed. The studio buzzed louder than ever. The film was halfway done, and the pressure doubled. Executives visited. Budget meetings happened behind closed doors. More reporters came to set. Awards talk started bubbling in. Whispers. But something else quietly bloomed beneath all that noise. Kindness not. The kind that shouted in headlines. The quiet kind. The soft exchanges. The noticing of each other. The way one crew member started leaving little handwritten notes on the mirrors saying, "You're stronger than you feel," or "Someone believes in you." No one admitted who it was, but everyone smiled when they found one. Anna kept showing up every day with the same steady spirit. Her scenes were more powerful than before, not just because of skill but because she understood something now. Pain can fuel truth when it's faced with gentleness. One afternoon, after a difficult scene, Anna wandered away from the set. She found a small door she had never noticed before. It led to an unused room, once part of the old studio offices. Inside, it was quiet. Dusty light filtered through a window covered by sheer curtains. There were two chairs, small table, a forgotten bookshelf in the corner. She stepped inside and sat down. The silence reminded her of the hallway from weeks ago, but this silence was different. It wasn't cold. It was soft. Still, it felt like a place where hearts could breathe. Later, that evening, Keanu passed by the door and paused. He saw the light was on. Curious, he knocked gently. Anna looked up and smiled. "Come in," he stepped in and looked around. "Never seen this room before?" "Me neither," she said. "Think it found me." Keanu sat opposite her. "What is this place?" She shrugged. "I call it the still room." He nodded, as if understanding without needing more explanation. Anna leaned back and looked out the window. "I think people need places like this." "They do," he said, softly. "Especially when the world feels too loud." They sat together again like they had so many times before. And slowly, a new idea took shape. The next morning, Anna placed a small sign outside the door. "Quiet space. Come in if you need stillness." It wasn't fancy. It wasn't official. But by lunch, someone had already gone in. By the end of the day, 5 different people had word spread. The still room became a little secret sanctuary. No one talked inside. No phones allowed. It's just a place to sit, breathe, or read one of the old books on the dusty shelf. People didn't say much about it. But they felt different after they left. One wardrobe assistant wrote a sticky note and left. It behind, "I almost quit today. Then I sat in this room, and now I think I'll stay." Anna found the note and placed it in a new notebook she had started collecting just for messages like that. She called it the kindness log. Keanu added, 1-2. Stillness is where I find my real self. Thank you for giving it back. One day, a young actor, nervous, new, and clearly overwhelmed, was pacing outside the trailers. Anna noticed his shaking hands. She didn't ask questions, didn't offer a speech. She simply handed him a folded paper. He opened it. It read, "There's a room 2 doors down. Go sit there. You don't have to be okay yet." He nodded, said nothing, and walked away. An hour later, she found a thank you note on her chair. The room changed people. Not by force, but by making space for gentleness. And it changed Anna too. She began to slow down more. To see the ones no one else saw, the extras standing silently for hours. The janitor who worked through lunch, the driver who waited all day, in the parking lot. One evening, she sat in the still room after a long shoot. Her eyes were heavy, her heart tired. She reached into her bag and pulled out the red poem again. The lines still moved her. Some sit with words, some sit with none, but the ones who stay are the bravest ones. Keanu walked in, holding 2 cups of warm tea. He set one down beside her. "It's getting famous, you know," he said. "What is your room?" Anna smiled. "It's not mine." He shook his head. "It is. Because only someone who's felt the silence knows how to make space for it." They sat in silence, sipping tea. Beside the window, the sky turned pink with dusk. Then came the twist no one expected. A new producer arrived on set, fresh from another project. He had a clipboard, a schedule, and no patience. "What's this quiet room I keep hearing about?" he snapped one day. "We're here to work, not nap," someone tried to explain. He waved it off. "Close it. Lock the door. We don't have time for softness." The crew looked around stunned. Anna stood up. Her voice was calm, steady. "We do have time, because if we don't make time for softness, we break." The producer laughed lightly. "This isn't a wellness retreat, Anna. It's a film set." Keanu stepped beside her. "Then it should be both." The producer paused. Clearly annoyed, Keanu didn't raise his voice, didn't argue. He just looked at the man and said, "No. One gives their best when they're broken inside. The still room helps people stay whole. If you shut it down, you lose more than time." The room fell silent. The producer stared at them both, then turned and walked away. He didn't say yes, but he didn't say no. The next morning, the sign was still there. The still room remained. And someone had added, "A small flower in a jar on the WINDOWSILL." Anna and Keanu walked past it together. "You think he changed his mind?" she asked. Maybe, Keanu said. Or maybe he just needed the room too, and didn't know how to ask. And just like that, the quiet revolution kept growing. one still heart at a time. When the lights went out, everything was going smoothly. The still room had become a quiet treasure. People left folded notes, shared tearful smiles, and offered small kindnesses across the set. Anna felt more alive than ever. Her scenes were flowing. Her heart felt open. And every day the kindness log grew thicker with soft, handwritten notes. But peace doesn't always stay long, not without testing. On a Friday morning during a large scene with over 50 extras, the studio lights suddenly went out. Everything stopped. At first, people thought it was a glitch. Then came the news. A transformer had failed. The entire block had lost power. Cameras went down. Monitors went blank. The sound crew froze. The director dropped his headset and cursed under his breath, and panic began. Some started pacing. Others checked their phones. Schedules were tight. Delays meant costs. Everyone started worrying about lost time. Anna stood in the middle of the set, holding her script, watching the room fall apart without a single scream. It was the quiet kind of chaos, the kind that builds in your chest and makes everyone feel a little smaller. Then she heard a voice. "We have sunlight outside." She turned. Keanu was pointing toward the back entrance. Warm daylight poured through the open loading doors. "We have each other. We still have the story," he said. Anna's breath caught. It was such a simple thing to say, but it reminded her. Stories don't stop just because lights do. An idea sparked. Anna ran to the wardrobe tent. She grabbed a few blankets, a spare boom mic, and a stack of printed pages. She walked back onto the soundstage floor and clapped her hands. "If anyone wants to come, we'll be outside." Scene 12. No lights. No cameras, just words. A few people paused, then one stepped forward, then three more, and soon nearly everyone followed. Outside they gathered in a small grassy area behind the studio lot. It wasn't fancy. The ground was a little uneven. Birds chirped in the background. The sky was blue, and the sun was warm. Anna stood at the center, with Keanu beside her. No cameras, no director's chair, just actors, and a story to tell. They read the scene aloud. 1 take, 2 takes. The wind blew a page across the grass, and an extra chased it down. Laughing, someone brought a guitar. Someone else shared sandwiches, and for 2 hours, they rehearsed, laughed, and cried together, like a family with no roof, just sky. When the power returned later that day, no one rushed back to the lights. They stayed outside a little longer. The director stepped out and watched from a distance, arms crossed, eyes soft. That night, Anna sat in the still room. It was quiet again, almost empty, just one young grip sitting. In the corner, writing in the kindness log, he looked up as she entered. "I didn't think anyone would care if the lights went out," he said. "But today felt more real than anything I've seen here." Anna sat beside him. "Sometimes the best light comes from within," she said. A few days later, the studio sent a formal letter. They praised the team for how they handled the blackout, mentioned creative problem solving and team unity. But the crew knew better. It wasn't just teamwork, it was stillness, trust, and D-state. And 2 actors who remembered the most important light is the one you carry inside you. Keanu found Anna that evening by the parking lot. He was leaning on his motorcycle. Again, sipping from a chipped mug. "You saved the day," he said. She shook her head. "You sparked it," he grinned. "I just said there was sunlight, and you reminded us to use it." They smiled. Then Anna said something that had been resting in her heart for days. "I want to make something permanent." "What do you mean?" Keanu asked. "The still room, the notebook, the message. I want to create something people can take with them, even after the film ends." He listened. A book, maybe, or a short film, or just something that captures this kindness, the quiet kind, the one you gave me that day in the hallway. Keanu's smile faded, but not because he was sad. His face grew calm, steady. "I'll help," he said, "but only if it stays quiet." "Quiet?" she asked. "Yeah. Not flashy. Not viral. Just true." Anna nodded. True is all I want. They started sketching ideas that night. They wrote down the story of the hallway, the red notebook, the still room, the blackout under the sun. They didn't use names. They didn't chase attention. They called the project Beside You. Days passed, then weeks. The shooting schedule wrapped. The set was packed away. People hugged goodbye, but the still room remained. Anna left a final note inside. If you ever feel alone, sit here. Someone once sat beside me when I was falling. Now I rise with them in my heart. She tucked the kindness log into her backpack and stepped out into the sunlight on the last day. The crew gifted her something unexpected, a framed page from the red notebook, the original poem beneath it. Everyone had signed their names, and in the corner, in small, familiar handwriting, was Keanu's final note. No spotlight is brighter than the one inside you. Anna held it close. The hallway where she once shivered felt far away now. But she would carry it forever. Not as a wound, but as a beginning. Beside you, always a month had passed. Anna sat in a quiet cafe in Madrid. Outside, rain gently tapped against the window. She wore no makeup, just a sweater, jeans, and her notebook, the kindness log. It was worn now. The cover creased, the corners soft. Inside were the voices of so many, their fears, their thanks, their quiet courage. She had come here to write, not a script, not a movie, just something true, something real. The project with Keanu Beside You had begun to take shape. Not as a film, not yet, but as a series of short letters, essays. Pieces of moments that could sit gently beside someone's bad day. They didn't want it to go viral. They wanted it to go personal. Keanu was in Tokyo, filming something new. They still texted. Short notes. Always quiet, never noisy. He sent her a message that morning. Found a boy today, sitting alone on set. I didn't ask anything, just sat down. He smiled. Sometimes that's all it takes. Anna smiled back at her phone. You're still doing it, she replied. So are you, he said. The story could have ended there, but life had more to say. Anna got invited to speak at a small gathering of young actors, not a red carpet event, just a quiet theater workshop. She almost said no, but then remembered the hallway, remembered how sometimes showing up in stillness was more powerful than standing on a stage. So she went. She stood in front of 20 nervous faces, some fresh out of school, some still unsure if they belonged in this world of scripts and cameras and judgment. Anna held up the red notebook. I'm not here to teach you acting, she said softly. I'm here to remind you that you are more than your roles. She told them about the hallway, about the silence, about the day she nearly broke. And someone sat beside her without needing to speak. And then she read the poem line by line. When she finished, the room was silent. Then a girl raised her hand. What do you do when no one sits beside you? She asked, her voice small. Anna paused, then said, You sit beside yourself, gently, like a friend. And the girl nodded, tears quietly falling down her cheek. Anna kept going, not as a celebrity, but as a quiet presence. She began visiting hospital waiting rooms, not for press, not for charity headlines, just to sit, to read, to leave. Little folded notes with simple messages. You are not alone. This moment will pass. Someone sees your courage. She wrote a letter to a girl who had lost her brother. She wrote a letter to a man whose hands trembled from grief. She wrote one to herself, too. You didn't give up. You sat through the storm. And now you carry light for others. One day her phone rang. It was the studio from the film. They said they were adding a new featurette. It's the movie's release. They wanted to include a piece about the still room. They had read the kindness log. Anna felt her heart race. Only if we keep it quiet, she said. They agreed, and so. Tucked at the end of the film's credits, after all the names rolled by, soft scene played, a hallway silent, a girl sitting, shivering, then a man walking slowly. He sits, they say nothing. Then the screen fades to black, and a line appears. If you see someone hurting, sit beside them. You don't need to speak. Your presence is enough. Audiences stayed until the very end, many cried. Some wrote messages online, not to go viral, but to connect. Double quotes, I saw someone at school today, sitting alone. I sat beside them. I hugged my brother after 5 years of silence. I wrote my first poem in 10 years. It helped. One comment read simply, I was going to leave tonight. But then I stayed until the end of the film. I saw myself in that hallway. Thank you. Anna and Keanu never claimed credit. They didn't need to. The story wasn't about them. It was about all of us. The silent moments, the small gestures, the invisible kindness that changes everything years later. Anna found herself standing in front of a class again. This time, not in Madrid, but back in Los Angeles. The studio had turned the old quiet room into something new, a permanent space called the still room. People could enter, write, sit, breathe. On the wall hung the Red Notebook's poem in a golden frame. Beneath it was a small plaque that read, this story was never about stars. It was about sitting beside someone when they needed light and becoming light together. Anna smiled, and in her heart she whispered, you never said a word that day, Keanu. But you taught me more than any script ever could. She placed a fresh notebook on the table, opened to the first page, and wrote, if you are hurting, I will sit with you. Not as a star, not as a teacher, it's just as someone who once hurt too. The hallway that once held her fear now lived in the hearts of thousands, and the silence that once shook her body became the voice that whispered gently across the world. I'm beside you, always.